Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. 100 Rifles is a 1969 American Western film that was directed by Tom Grease, and it stars Jim Brown, Raquel Welch, and Burt Reynolds, and is based on Robert McLeod's 1966 novel, The Californio. The storyline goes that in 1912 Sonora, Mexico, Arizona lawman Lydecker chases Yaqui Joe, who's a half Yaqui and half white bank robber who has stolen $6,000. Both men are captured by the Mexican general Verdugo. Lydecker learns that Joe used the loot that he stole to buy 100 rifles for the Yaqui people, who at the time are being repressed by the government there. Lydecker is not interested in Joe's motives and intends to recover the money and apprehend Joe to further his career. The two men end up escaping a Mexican firing squad, and they flee to the hills, where they are joined by the lovely Sarita, a beautiful Indian revolutionary. Sarita has a vendetta against the soldiers who murdered her father. The fugitives become allies. The soldiers raid and burn a village that the rebels have just left, taking its children as hostages. Sarita tells Lydecker that she will allow him to take Yaqui Joe with him back to Phoenix afterwards if he stays with them to help rescue the children. She later warms up to Lydecker, and they become lovers. Leading the Yaqui against Verdugo's forces, they ambush and derail the general's train and overcome the soldiers in an extended gunfight. Sarita is killed in the battle, and Lydecker decides to return home alone and allow Yaqui Joe to take over as the rebel leader. The movie was the first of a 4-picture deal producer Martin Swartz had with 20th Century Fox. Tom Grease signed on to direct it following his successful feature debut with Will Penny. The leads were given to Raquel Welch, who in some cases was inserted into films strictly as a piece of eye candy, but in this film she proves that she can really act as well. Jim Brown was added, and not only was he a great football player, he turns out to be a pretty good actor as well. And then there's Burt Reynolds, who's early in his career, before his superstardom. In the film, Chuck Robertson, who was John Wayne's longtime stuntman, was set to double for Jim Brown on some of the riskier stunts that were done. The director had plans of painting his face a darker color so that you would think it was Jim Brown on camera. But Burt Reynolds pitched a fit and told him that he wouldn't perform with him done like that. He stated that those days are gone, and he said, "You better get a black stuntman here right now or we won't film this scene." The production manager stated that it wasn't in the budget to do that the studio would never go for the extra expense. So Burt Reynolds himself stepped up to the plate and paid $500 out of his own pocket for this stuntman to do the stunt. Burt Reynolds and Raquel Welch didn't see eye to eye on this film at all. As a matter of fact, they hated each other. And the falling out while making this movie was really apparent. 3 years later, they both were cast in the movie Fuzz from 1972. Welch only agreed to do the movie after it was set in the contract that she would not have to appear in any scenes with Reynolds. They would go on to remain enemies until 1982, when the producers of the 1982 Cannery Row fired Welch, claiming that she was unprofessional, and they replaced her with Deborah Winger. Reynolds stepped up and testified on her behalf, stating that although Raquel and I don't like each other, she was always on time, always well prepared, and thoroughly professional. She went on to win a large settlement against the production. There were also a number of press reports that during the production, Jim Brown and Raquel clashed during filming. Brown later went on to report that the thing that he was trying to avoid the most was any suggestion that he was trying to come on to her at any point during the filming. So he kind of withdrew to himself. He tried not to socialize. He tried his best not to have any relationship with Raquel on the set outside of filming. He stated that Raquel is married, and out of respect for her husband, he wanted to deal with Raquel through him. It's also said that Burt Reynolds spent the entire time he was on the set basically refereeing fights between Jim Brown and Raquel. And he felt the reason that they acted this way was because they were kind of attracted to each other from the start. After a while of filming, they both displayed a little temperament. But you have to realize that they were out in the middle of the desert filming when temperatures were 110 degrees, and that made it tough for anybody to work together. Jim Brown says that he wasn't attracted to Raquel at all when filming initially started, but he said things started to change when they had to shoot their sex scene. When it was finally time to shoot the scene, the director told them to act like they were starved for sex. He was told to snap in mid-scene and just rip Raquel's shirt off. As they began filming, he started real slowly, being more sensitive, and then suddenly Raquel started pawing at his clothes. He began kissing her and holding her, and he found that she became very sexy to him, and he got caught up in the scene. It was her actions that basically did it. She wasn't just lying on the bed being submissive, she was wild and defiant. And it became a contest of who would conquer who in that bed. Raquel started heating up, and so did the scene. This was a very amazing scene for that time and place. You have to realize this was 1969, and this was one of the first movies to feature a sex scene between people of different races. During an interview after Burt Reynolds passed away, Raquel Welch said that she quickly realized after filming began that Burt Reynolds had a much more powerful natural magnetism and presence on the screen than she did, and she was afraid that she wouldn't be noticed in the film at all. She thought that all the eyes would be drawn towards him. She went back to her trailer just wondering what she could do to hold the attention on her instead of him. She decided, I know what I'll do. I'll take off my bra. So she did just that, and she buttoned up the little tight crop top that she was wearing, and she walked back out on the set. She stated that it worked like a charm. Seems like a pretty much no-brainer to me. Take a look back at this really good film. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.